Welcome to the In the Field podcast, and today I am joined by James Doe. James, how's your summer been?
Yeah, it's been great, mate. It's been really busy. With graduation, I've had two holidays in between either side of them as well. So it's been crazy. I haven't really stopped, but it's been lovely to be fair.
Uh, how would you say you've settled into the wide world of journalism following the end of your uni stay?
Um, I'd say it's not too much has changed really. I've kept up my work with West still. Um, so even one literally, I think when I finished my dissertation, which was like our final piece. I had a week or two off, so I went away then, came back. We had our playoff final against Caernarfon to get into Europe, won that. And then I think again it was maybe like a week or two, well, 2 weeks off, say, and then we were back at it again because pre-season had to start early because of the European games.
Yeah,
Um, so it was quite nice actually because Tom, who also does like the social media side of things. He was unavailable for like most of the preseason Saturday games because he also plays cricket.
yeah,
So it gave me a chance to actually do the social media on a club account, which was the first time I'd done that. So that was quite nice. And then went out to Malta as a fan, but worked out there with with the club as well. So yeah, this it's been quite nice. So not much has changed really, but there's still quite a lot of work going on.
yeah. How would you like for the audience? What would you say your exact role is, or the exact part of your industry you're in?
I'd say. Club media is probably specifically the role, so it's a lot of written element, so whether that be kind of match reports, transcribing, writing up interview pieces, it could be kind of previews of games, meet the opposition, so like finding out the information on the team that we're playing. It can include interviews as well. So it's really. It's more a case of Hartford that I've kind of just wanted to make sure I'd said to Niall as well or something. I wanted to make sure which I did something I didn't do last year, which was get quite rusty over the summer.
Yeah,
So I wanted to make sure this year that I kept kind of going at it. So then when well, not when I come back in September because there's nowhere to come back to in September. But like through then when the season starts, I'm like ready and I'm not kind of I'm kind it's kind of like my own pre-season in a way.
yeah, yeah. So having the same experiences as the players there.
Yeah.
Um, who who or what has been your influence in deciding to go into that industry?
Um. I'd probably say my great granddad. He's probably the reason I got into football. He used to years and years ago. He played for Brighton. He had trials at Celtic. Um, then he came back home. Played for like so he played for a lot for West.
Yeah,
And I'd say we used to. What he was a Chelsea fan, but because of me being a Swansea fan, any chance he could watch Swansea with me, he would have. And then he probably towards his like last few years did become quite a good big Swansea fan. Um, but I remember he'd always say to me, if I could play football like I talk it, I'd be like I'd be up there. So and then that's always stuck with me. Um, so probably him really. He's probably been my biggest inspiration in terms of like the work I've done, and it's quite nice that the clubs he had a fondness of, whether that be Swansea, whether that be West, I've done work with. So now I just have to get into the Prem with Brighton and Chelsea, but we'll see how that goes.
yeah. There's worse teams to support than Mighty Swans anyway. But
Yeah.
if there was any other non-sports media job you could describe your job as being very similar to, what would that be?
Um, Really tough question. I'd say I don't know like an exact job, but it's probably something that's like really you've got to be versatile. So something where because there's so many different parts to it. well, like whether that be videography, photography, um, the written side, your interviews, whatever. So yeah, I don't know an exact role. Again, maybe I can't think of an exact role, but it's something, yeah, something where it's literally you've got that versatility in the role where you don't just do one thing.
Possibly working in a circus, I think would be
Yeah, yeah. There we are.
maybe the
Circus.
best description. What do you think is the biggest challenge you've faced in sports journalism so far?
Um, I'd say you can maybe say when I was on placement with Swansea because it was my first role at a professional club, but I took it on. I'd say it was a challenge, but I enjoyed it. I'd say the biggest actual challenge I had was probably like all like the major project and stuff like that because I wasn't a massive fan of it personally. I'm not a massive video person, documentary. Well, yeah, you're not gonna get me behind a camera much actually doing the work in terms of
No.
like the. So I'd say that was probably the biggest challenge I had is trying to get good enough footage, and it did go a little bit horribly wrong with like what my plan was. That all changed quite late on, especially with the documentary. But luckily we got there in the end, and but I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge was that, and maybe the TV project as well because of just how much went into that.
Yeah, a lot of effort in that. Well, I've heard from the last three people. Um, what do you what with people going into sports journalism now, or with people that maybe are in our year? What sort of advice would you give them uh, on what to do in terms of people going in, like people going into sports journalism? Uh, what sort of tips would you give them? And for us, what tips would you give us heading into the third year?
Uh, in terms of people going in like saying like say they're going into first year now, I probably say take every opportunity as it comes. You never know where it might help or lead in the future then, especially when you're going into your second years and third years when you need placements. Um, be confident as well, like in terms of like believing in yourself. So, because it sometimes you'll think it's like, oh, I can't do this or whatever, but whatever you do, you learn from it. Even if you don't think it went amazing, you've probably gone out of your comfort zone a little bit. So whatever happened, that's a positive. In terms of you going into your third year, I'd say time management is massive. I didn't make the most of that. I'm going to be completely honest. Um, I'd say again, start building your contact books up as well. Post literally don't stop posting on LinkedIn. Just trying to just promote yourself because technically that's you're kind of like promoting your business in a way. Um, so I'd say yeah, a lot of it is kind of just making sure you build your contacts up because you don't know where that might lead. And like even like now I said to Niall, um, I messaged Swansea the other day about is there anything I could maybe help with, and so I might, and yeah, it might be a little project for me for next season. Um, so hopefully, hopefully, yeah, that comes into fruition. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty much just keep your contacts or keep building your contacts because you just never know where they might lead.
Yeah, that would be the dream working at the Swansea. But
Yeah.
what do you think are the criteria in terms of skills that you need to be, transferable into the course?
Um, I'd say again, especially these days, like the modern world of journalism and media, you need again, as I said, versatility is massive. Whether that be again, yeah, you're written, you're interviewing graphic design is another one that's getting more and more important. Even not necessarily, obviously, a lot of say you want to do club media, a lot of clubs do have their own graphic designers, but you still like you're kind of, from what I've seen at both the clubs I've been at. you're still responsible for the halftime graphic, full-time graphic. Um, so I'd say that versatility is really important. You've obviously got like your non-negotiables of making sure you're on time, um, reliable, and kind of just make sure, especially when you're starting off, just make sure you're like just always available as well, because they can see that that'll be a massive thing for really any employer, is that they know you're keen to work hard.
Yeah. Is there anything sorry, is there anything you do differently uh during your time on the course in order to make yourself maybe in a better position right now?
Um, I'd say maybe I would have probably tried doing more written work maybe for like kind of like external websites, whether that like like in the EFL, like Football League World, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just to again, it's getting more different kind of work out of there, because a lot of the work that I've done, especially through placements, is obviously like club work. So it's like there's obviously going to be a bias to that. So like
Yeah.
I probably didn't do that much actual like neutral writing, bar maybe like the Expo games when I'd go to Swansea, Cardiff, whatever. Um, Maybe that, and then other than that, probably just kind of. Yeah, again, maybe just the time management, especially in the last year or last few months, I didn't do that like that well at all, to be honest. So I'd say that's really the only thing I do differently, is probably you think you've got all the time in the world because you start the module in January. Oh, it creeps up on you.
Yeah.
And so it's just making sure you know what you need. You kind of probably set targets and then go from there, really.
Just to sort of round this up, in
Yeah.
5 years' time, in your ideal world, where would you want to be as a sports journalist?
Uh, I'd want to be at a professional club in terms of like the media side of things. Whether that be in Wales, if Swansea would be the dream. And it's probably, even though it would be the dream, it might also not be too far-fetched with what I've done there already. But again, if I'm more than willing to, branch out to say like England or wherever. I think it would be quite cool to see what like the media side of things is abroad, and like saying if like Spain, or maybe if there's anything in like your Australia's, whatever. I think that would be also like a dream. I don't know, would that be in 5 years or so? Maybe that would be something I could look at over the next couple of years more. But I'd say yeah, over ideally full time at like a professional club as like a media executive or officer, and kind of that's yeah that and just kind of carrying on from that, really.
Just a final question. What is your end goal in sports journalism other than to be at the stadium when Bank lifts the Premier League trophy?
Um, Probably a year later, then when Benkavango lifts the Champions League trophy and I could win about that one.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd say yeah, probably if I could witness anything at a club where they do something unbelievable, like that would probably be like the end. Like that would be like, oh yeah, I'm happy. Like whether that might not even be Swansea. I could say it was, you just somehow at Arsenal and they've done like a treble, or they've just, or say you're at Liverpool when they went when I had that comeback against Barca, like something
yeah,
like that. You experience something like that. I think that's like you'll never forget that, and the stories you'll be able to tell. And I think that's the most important thing about it. Like you've obviously got your own work, and people can go look back at that, but it's like the memories that then when it's all done, you can look it back on and be like, oh yeah, that was fantastic.
yeah. Well, that's great. Thanks for joining me here
No
today,
worries.
and
Thank you for having me.
I'll see you very soon.
See you soon.